Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of From Amateur to Expert Daily, where we speak about work, wealth, and how to position yourself as a top expert in your game. Today I'd like to do something a little different. We're at well over 400 episodes now of From Amateur to Expert Daily, and each day I try to provide you with one or more specific tips, insights, or to-do items in order to elevate your career and position yourself as an expert in whatever you do. And most of those are really oriented around providing value to the people that you lead, becoming well known, teaching, guiding, being useful and offering value to the world. Today we're going to do something completely different. I want to invite you to be a bit self-indulgent. And I'm going to share a couple of moments with you out of my life, and I'd like to lead you through a thought exercise in which you get to do the same. The goal here is to try to picture the end result of the journey. Or in other words, we're talking about how to position yourself as an expert. I want you to imagine that you've made it. What is a marker moment in your life, and what would that look like? Here's one that happened to me just last week, and it was such a nice one. As you know, Penguin recently asked me to write Virus-Proof Your Small Business, and to my amazement, and I'm really honored about this, it was published all around the world. Now, I haven't seen it yet. It was published initially as an ebook and an audiobook, and just the other week, somebody told me that it was now available in bookstores. They'd finally come out of lockdown and been able to actually do the print copy. So I jumped into my car with my little 3-year-old son, and we headed off to the store, and of course we had to put on the masks and the whole trip, walked in and saw them from one end of the bookstore to the other, arranged in wonderful displays. And it is such a moment to walk into a bookstore and see something that you've worked on, that you've put effort into, that you've sort of banged back and forth with an editor and debated and discussed, and you see the final product sitting on a shelf. There's something magical about that. And I was thinking about the first time that ever happened to me. One of my most gratifying moments happened just after the release of Own Your Industry, How to Position Yourself as an Expert. And if you've read any of my books on wealth and poverty, you'll have encountered the stories that I tell about coming from a family that struggled. We weren't desperately poverty-stricken, but we had some very rough times. We had times when we had to rely on our local church to feed us. We had times when we had the power cut off and we had no means of getting it back on. This day rolls around and Penguin Books asked me to go and do an interview on Classic FM. And I put on a nice jacket and I was feeling good about myself, got into what was my first luxury car, and I remember driving off to Classic FM to speak about how to become an expert in your world. And I remember on the drive just thinking about how deeply gratifying that was. It was a marker moment in my life. Now, back to you. The career, the brand, the empire that you are busy building right now, if you persist and if you pursue it with great passion and intelligent strategy, it's actually going to happen. And we lose sight of this one. We forget that there will be an outcome to your inputs. 400 videos about input so far. What is the outcome? Well, I'd like you to take a moment today and just answer that in your world, because it refuels you, it re-energizes you, and it helps to keep the passion and the discipline levels as high as you will need them to be. So, what does it look like in your world? Is it, for example, speaking at a massive seminar and then afterwards getting into the luxury car and driving it away? Is it receiving that telephone call from a publisher, from a media outlet, from someone who says, someone told us you're the person to talk to? Is it some form of a public appearance? Is it some kind of a numeric milestone? Perhaps you get 100,000 viewers on YouTube or 1 million hits, or what does it look like for you? And let's go one step further. What's your plan to celebrate it when it happens? Because those magic markers actually become very important parts of your entire life story. You don't want to miss them. Today I'd like to invite you to answer the question, what does a meaningful marker look like in your pursuit of expert positioning? When it arrives, don't just let it flash by. Take a moment, celebrate it with your friends, with your family, with someone who means a great deal to you.